Well, hello. It's nice to see you again. I was just wondering, have you ever been embarrassed to show that you are a Christian? You know, maybe when you're out in the world, like when it comes time to eat in a restaurant or at school. Do you still bow your head and pray, or is it kind of embarrassing? Well, there's an interesting part of a well-known story in the Bible that might help you if you feel embarrassed sometimes. Now, you remember the story of Jonah and the whale or the big fish, right? Well, our verse is found in the book of Jonah, Jonah chapter 1, verses 5 and 6. But all this time Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went down after him. "How can you sleep at a time like this?" he shouted. "Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives." Well, you remember the story. God asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and preach, but instead Jonah ran away and got on a ship. Soon a big storm hit. The sailors on board were afraid. They weren't followers of the one true God, but they did what they knew to do. They prayed to their pagan gods. Now, as you would think, this didn't help. But each man was doing what he knew best to do. Now Jonah, unlike the praying sailors, he was asleep. The captain couldn't believe it. He shouted at him when he found him and told him to pray too. Jonah, the preacher. Jonah, who was a follower of the one true God, he was asleep. Well, when Jonah explained to the sailors that he was a believer in God and that he was running away from God, the sailors couldn't believe it. The sailors began to pray to God themselves, asking for his help. Now, when you are out in the world, you may feel like you are surrounded by people who don't want to know about God or who don't care about him. But that isn't always true. God has his people everywhere. The sailors on Jonah's boat were almost more connected with God than Jonah was. They just didn't understand everything about God. They needed someone to show them. Now, Jonah the preacher wasn't praying, but these men were. The next time you're out, don't feel embarrassed. Just think that you might be sitting next to a praying sailor and not even know it. Be proud that you are a Christian and make it a wonderful new day with Jesus.